Welcome, everybody, to today's episode of the SmackDown Live Recap here on the Pro Wrestling Sheet. So much going on in the world of entertainment and media and out there beyond your televisions, but last night was a lot of professional wrestling conversation, promos, and an occasional match or two that was thrown in. This is such an interesting tact that WWE has taken this week with focusing more on promos and vignettes and conversations than the actual wrestling on the heels of AEW. We talked about it yesterday. Thanks to everybody who watched our Raw recap. But I'm your host, John Rocha, joined as always by the CEO of the Pro Wrestling Sheet, Ryan Satin. Ryan, what are your thoughts about this as we look at this SmackDown episode and Raw episode? A lot of talking, a lot of vignettes.
Yeah, a lot of talking, a lot of vignettes, and you know, I enjoyed SmackDown more than I enjoyed Raw.
Sure.
Usually, like always.
Yeah.
But I think that once again, they did a little. I'm trying to think of the right words to say this. I think they tried a little harder here on SmackDown.
Sure.
They started off, well, not started off, but they had the match early, up front. They had a match pretty early on.
A good match, yeah.
A very good match, that, a 15-minute match or whatever. So, which I think was a smarter tactic than just going out there and doing an hour of no wrestling.
Right.
But I still, it's tough because I still struggle with the fact that, like, I know that typically this time in WWE is a slow period. I mean, it's a year-round thing,
Right.
So I know that this period is usually kind of boring afterwards, especially when there's a champion that maybe Vince isn't doesn't get his creative juices flowing for necessarily.
Okay.
Like, I'm not saying he dislikes Kofi Kingston, but it doesn't really. There's nothing really. Similarly to Daniel Bryan after he had his big title run, there was something like really like, any great feud he went into afterwards. And Kevin Owens was good. It wasn't bad, but it wasn't like anything mind blowing or anything like that. And Dolph Ziggler's been good, but there wasn't, to the best of my knowledge, like not a ton of advancement on that last night. So
No, there wasn't.
There wasn't, right?
No.
Yeah, that's what I thought. So I didn't want to say that and then I missed a segment or something.
It's just
but yeah, I just feel like there's a lot more they could do to just kind of like, and not because because of AEW. I'm sorry, there are people in the wrestling industry that are watching them. There are so many people that wrote me, in the comments of YouTube or, just friends that used to watch wrestling that were like, yeah, I watched Double Run. That was really cool. It's like the stuff I used to like. And then they were tuning into Raw to see if like Raw was going to do anything to step it up.
Yeah.
And I don't know if I feel like they stepped it up at all this week, but I did enjoy SmackDown. I thought it was a good show.
Yeah.
It's just similar to what I said yesterday. I just feel like they should kind of put their dukes up a little more. But I did see there's only one person who responded via social media, and I don't have their name here.
Yeah.
It might have been in the comments of YouTube. I'm pretty sure it was on social media, though. They did point out the fact that, it's possible that they don't necessarily feel like they have to as much right now.
That's what I said
because they're
yesterday.
not on the because AEW is not on TV yet.
Yeah.
When AEW is on TV and they really have to like look and see which show did better.
Right.
There's going to be, and I don't think that TNT is going to do better. AEW is going to do better right away than WWE.
Right.
But I just think that they might be a little more defensive at that point.
I get that point, but it might be too late by that point. That's the danger.
That is the danger.
And that's the thing. So I get what the commentary was saying, because I was saying that a little bit yesterday, that the WWE is playing the long game here a little bit, but you can get caught with your pants down. And because you start thinking, I know what's going to happen. There isn't that much. But as it builds, people start to get more interested, start to go around. You were talking off camera about the Jon Moxley interview he did today, the formerly Dean Ambrose of WWE, and he spoke openly about stuff going on. That kind of stuff spreads.
He literally said that, he literally said that Vince McMahon and his creative process are killing the WWE.
Yeah, which is something we've been saying to a lesser extent or to a higher extent, depending on the show. So, but yes, the way that SmackDown started out, I really enjoyed having Kofi. Kofi's a fighting champion. It's been so long since I've seen a consistently fighting champion that I've really appreciated this. There may not be any feuds necessarily.
AJ was a fighting champion.
AJ, yeah. But I mean, where Lesnar held the belt up for so long.
Okay.
There was that feeling like, where's
SmackDown
the
has had a
champion
for a long time. They had AJ Styles very consistently.
Sure, fair enough. But it's nice to see that you got Kofi fighting it all the time. Like, he's defending that belt all the time.
Yeah, I mean, that has become his gimmick right now, is like, I want to have a great reign, so I'm down to fight for this whenever. Are we,
here's the question I have, because this was a really good match. And of course, we're splitting the focus here between Kevin Owens and Ziggler. What is the feud? That's what concerns me here. Yes, he beat Kevin Owens straight clean. So is that the end of the feud? I doubt it. He's got a Superstar Showdown, right? I think he's going to fight Ziggler at the Superstar Showdown. So we've got that. But if he wins there, is that feud done? And the Kevin Owens one sparks back up again? I don't know. Daniel Bryan's off doing tag team stuff. So this is the concern I have, is that they're splitting the focus of the fandom depending on the show they're on.
And sometimes, to me, when they're promoting multiple shows at once, or feuds like that one's for down the line, one's for now, I do think it gets a little confusing, especially when it's one person involved in both of them.
Yeah.
And I thought the exact same thing while watching this last night. I thought to myself, like, we did this.
Yeah.
Is this really needed? Like, yes, these two put on a very passable match. These two put on a match that I enjoyed, that was good. But I did think to myself, like, what are we doing here?
Yeah.
Kevin Owens just did this with New Day, and now they're in a feud Kofi's in a feud with Ziggler.
Yeah.
My only guess is that this was done because he is going to transition into a feud with Big E.
Right.
But however, there was that one interesting part in his promo.
Yeah.
Where he said it wasn't him.
Right.
Which, I mean, a lot of times when we hear that in WWE, it is that person.
Yeah.
We'll get the footage later, but sometimes it's not.
Sometimes it's a heel turn from Big E, possibly lying.
Wasn't that what
Kevin
Big
Owens
Cass did?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what Big Cass did recently.
You find out he was the one beating up what's his face?
Beating himself up. Remember, he kept being found like in the hallway, and then it was eventually Corey Graves was like going to call him out, and then he turned heel over Enzo, right? Isn't that how that all happened, right?
Yeah. So that's in play here.
You keep saying this, and I don't want New Day to.
Really?
No, you want New Day to split?
I don't want them to split, but my job is to analyze the situation, and it seems to me, based on the multiple years that I've watched professional wrestling, and it's still Vince doing his same stuff over and over again, that I've seen these beats before. And so it feels to me, especially because Big E has yet to come out and save them.
Well, he just came back. He just had that one thing where he was on from injury.
I know.
And then he just came back.
He did. And he was dancing around, jumping up and down, doing all
And then he got attacked.
And then he got attacked, right.
So how could he have helped them?
He could have come out at some point and boom, helping a little bit. They're hiding.
When?
They're hiding behind the whole thing. When Xavier Woods was getting beat up by Ziggler, he didn't come out to help him.
Tinfoil, I like it.
All right.
I know I like it.
When he turns on him, and I just think that's what they're seeming to be.
It'll probably happen when AJ Styles turns heel again.
It was close. He was on the precipice. And then they yanked him back. Well, they've done that too with Mandy and Sonya, which we'll get to later. They brought him close to a breakup and then brought him back.
Sonya will eventually turn on Mandy.
Right, eventually. But right now, it doesn't look like it.
New Day are merch machines, dude.
Yeah, that's true. You're right. They are. They are. But it doesn't mean that if Big E turns on them, they don't still stay the New Day. But I think what you said last week.
They'll lose that
it's
whole.
It's important to keep Big E
he's a big part of that.
Yeah.
They take out New Day from New Day, they don't have any New Day.
Yeah.
Sorry. They take out Big E from New Day, there is no New Day.
Yeah. But I mean, Kevin Owens showed out in this match. He looked to be the more aggressive wrestler, the more with the moves. So Kofi got his victory, but it was a bit of a kind of a last second type thing.
Well, this is one of the bummers. This is one of those bummers for me right now, is that, Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn, they were both out same time, long time. And Sami Zayn came back with a refreshed character, new spin on his character.
Yes.
And it's done wonders for him.
Yes.
It's made him much more interesting, much more entertaining on TV.
Agreed.
And has kind of propelled him into the main event more so than he had been in the past.
Yeah.
Kevin Owens seemed like he was on the verge of a character change, like he was going to be everyday man. They were doing those vignettes where he was at the movies, he was at the bowling alley, he was like going to be everyday man. And then like this tidal wave of Kofi Kingston happened, and it really seems to have messed with where he's going to be and where his standing is and things. And so now it's almost like he's treading water, doing an old thing that has kind of, as much as I love Kevin Owens, one of my favorite wrestlers, where he seems like he needs a refresh.
Here's the deal, and this is maybe I may get shit for this, but I feel like we've hit the ceiling with Kevin. I feel we've seen Kevin do multiple different types of variations of the same character. And I like Kevin Owens as a wrestler. He's a damn good wrestler. but professional wrestling is character and skills. So for me, I feel like we've hit that ceiling. Even what Sami Zayn is doing, he's done this heel thing before. The problem is he's been hurt every single time it starts to go into a momentum. Hopefully it doesn't happen now again, but people have an affinity for Sami Zayn. There's a joyfulness to his character, heel or face, that people like. I think with Kevin Owens, they sense that this is a guy who likes to play the heel and feels a little entitled. And that comes through, and so the fans don't necessarily jump on the KO train as strongly as they do the Sami Zayn train.
See, I have to disagree. See, well, with part of that, not all of that, is that, I hate that term, the ceiling, for someone, because I don't think anyone has a ceiling. Like, anyone can get as far as they want and as much as they're able to, right? And for me, especially after listening to the Jon Moxley interview on Talk Is Jericho, where he talks about the creative process and how just, how much he hated being handed a script. And just for me, watching Kevin Steen is what got me into independent wrestling. Like, Kevin Steen, man, that guy was one of the coolest wrestlers on the planet.
Yeah, I won't disagree with you.
And so I don't like to say his ceiling, because for me it feels like Vince McMahon doesn't know how to write for Kevin Owens to make Kevin Owens the badass
That's a fair point.
His fans know he can be.
Right.
So I think that's honestly the issue, is that, Moxley, in this interview that you brought up earlier, he talked about how, nothing he could do to change things would work. He'd try, and just the whole process of like trying to get things changed. 2 words changed in a promo took hours and hours and hours, and how it's like a whole process and getting things written down differently before it gets to Vince, all these different things, right? And I honestly feel like Kevin Owens is one of those people who is in a similar place that Jon Moxley was, Dean Ambrose was, where everyone knows what he has inside of him except for one person. And yeah, Vince does see him as a player in his play, but I just don't think that he sees him quite as important as the rest of us do, or at least as badass as the rest of us do. I think that's the main problem, is I think that they know how to write for him to make him cool.
This is a longer conversation, because for me, you're hearing only one side of it. And there's nothing that says that, like, everything Moxley proposed would have totally worked. There's no guarantee.
Well, I'm not saying that just on one side of things. Yes, maybe for this specific Moxley scenario. Right. But I know very inside of, I have very clear insight into it. And Vince, I know of many times, of things that don't get out, obviously, because it's so minute little things of he says, never do this for this character. And then 1 week later says, why aren't we doing this? And then that's the problem. And they're like, you literally said not to ever do that last week, you know? Or it's like, everything needs to be this. And then the next week it's like, no, everything needs to be that. And no, everything needs to be this. And it's like, when you are just so erratic like that, it does mess with the creative process. And that's why we see things that are, like for tonight, for last night's SmackDown, like we're going to talk about, where they suddenly make a rule of the 24/7 title that's only been around for 2 weeks, right? 2 weeks is now no longer 24/7 for this certain period of time. Like things like that. It's like, I don't know, it's yes, you're right. There are 2 sides to every story.
I'm not trying to defend Vince here.
No, but I mean,
but I always push back a little bit when a wrestler is like, well, I had all these ideas and they didn't put them in motion, and that's why I left, or that's why I'm not. It's like, well, look, other wrestlers were able to put it in motion. Maybe you couldn't get, maybe what you proposed wasn't great. Maybe it was great. I just always hold a little bit of judgment to see if you get multiple alternatives. And I make a comparison to like acting, right? Eric Bana, Josh Lucas. There are the theatrical world of film is full of potential leading men that had opportunities but just didn't connect with the audience for whatever reason. And they had all the tools, but for whatever reason, couldn't 100%. And I feel, to me, Kevin is like 90% there.
I was thinking of Taylor Kitsch when I think of those kinds of
Taylor Kitsch is a good point as well. Good actor. Had 3 movies come back to back to back, and they all tanked. And he was done.
And they were like, sorry, Taylor.
Here's True Detective. But you know what? Season 2, the worst of them, too. But like, you look at this situation, and I think sometimes there are wrestlers who have the tools to come close, so close, but can't quite get over that hump 100%.
But see,
to be one of the greats.
But to me, and when I see that, a lot of times I don't see that as the wrestler not having the what it takes to get over the audience.
Okay.
I see it as the writing,
You think the wrestler has nothing to do with it?
Is there someone in particular you're thinking of?
No. I think I've seen multiple examples over the years of multiple decades of watching. I've seen people come close and not quite get there. You know what I'm saying? Like,
but the thing is this, just like it's a scripted thing.
Totally.
You can get them there if you try hard enough. Like the difference between all those is I guess it's not totally the difference, but I think it is. Taylor Kitsch, for example, was in shitty movies. Like, he was the lead of 3 movies, but they were all shitty, and that's why no one could see what the people in Hollywood saw in Taylor Kitsch.
Right.
And I think that's the thing, is that, like, if you're putting these great actors in shitty movies, then it's going to reflect on that actor. But in reality, it's the 100 people behind him that put out a shitty movie.
But the conversation also goes into something like Fassbender. Why does he keep choosing these type of projects that don't work out for him? Eventually, it starts to become like, there's a track record here, and the common denominator is you. Yeah. And that's where you start to worry about. Now, Kevin has done great stuff with his opportunities.
Fassbender's in good movies.
Not in a long time. If you can name one besides an X-Men movie.
How damn it.
I was just going to say, there isn't. There isn't. And that's the concern. None of those alien movies were remotely kind of good. And, the Snowman, all those are terrible.
Okay.
Light by the Ocean, terrible. So those are those things you worry about.
The one where he shows his penis. Wasn't that one good? Did you like that one?
That was 10 years ago.
Was that 10 years
yes.
ago? I'm starting to get old.
Naked.
The other day when I was talking to people in here.
Shame. It's called Shame.
Shame. I was talking to Thad about that Batman movie when they announced the Robert Pattinson thing, and I was like, I don't know, man, I just feel like you need to like wait 15 years before you make another Batman movie. And he's like, Batman? Like the Dark Knight movies came out 15 years ago, and I was like,
2008.
Oh man, those did like come out 15 years ago.
A while ago.
Shit, And I was like, well, what about Batman vs Superman? He said, well, it wasn't just a Batman movie, and the Batman movie he was gonna do is this. And I was like, oh man, okay, good point.
Time goes fast.
I was like, all right, cool, bring on a Batman movie. bring on Robert Pattinson.
Yeah, we'll see. But no, but I love Kevin and I want him to succeed. I just wonder where, and you might be right. It might be the writing that's not quite getting him there, and the opportunities for the feuds that will elevate him.
He needs to be an anti-hero.
Yes.
The reason he was popular on the indies is because he was a dickhead who didn't give a shit.
Which is who he is.
You cheered for him.
Yeah.
And
it was his personality.
Awesome. It was great. Yeah. He was one of the most compelling things on the independent scene. And so I just feel like if you were, to me, making him an anti-hero is the way to go, is to actually make him a face.
Right.
Like they seemed like they were going to, no, when he
like
was
a tweener?
Family Man.
You mean like Stone Cold?
Yeah, kind of.
Like The Rock? Yeah.
Where he's like he's a bad guy, but you cheer for him. That's what you need to do with Kevin Owens, in my opinion. Like they were trying to do with Becky Lynch, but but they got cold feet.
They dulled
on
her edges. Yeah. And that's the thing that scares me when you look at the WWE. They have been on the precipice of creating these characters that could have been this, but with this TV deal and this desire to go mainstream, fully go mainstream, right? Things change. Things start to be a little more like softer on the edges, and you're like, you're gonna lose for the sake of mainstream attention. You're gonna lose the edginess that makes it so incredible and used to make it great.
Yes.
As much as you and there are things you can find to bash about the Attitude Era. Of course, TNA matches #1 almost. There was so much personality and edginess and pushing the boundaries and the lines of what you can do. And Becky was a callback to that.
Yeah.
And they dulled her edges like to the point where people like, yay, it's Becky, but it's not the Becky I wanted.
I honestly believe that merch plays a big factor into it
Sure,
too.
good point. Yeah.
I think that when you get to a certain level and like you're going up, and then you start making a lot of money in merch, or they're making a lot of money off you in merch, they want to preserve that.
Yep.
They're like, well, let's play it safe now with this person forever,
and so
until they're not a commodity anymore. And then it's like, well, but you could have done better. You could have made even more money off of them if you had just taken that extra risk. And that's one of my problems sometimes where I see with WWE. I feel like someone gets to a certain level and they're like, no, we're good with that person right where they are. We don't need them to do more. We have the people there. We think Seth Rollins and Roman Reigns, we think they're good on GMA.
Yeah.
We don't need Kevin Owens to be that.
That's a good point.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
and then
absolutely.
it starts to like, and I think that, from listening to the Mox interview or from reading Luke Harper's statement, people start to get fucking depressed over that shit.
Of course.
Because it's this thing that you love, and the one holder of the key is like, oh, sorry, you can't come in this room. It's like Wayne's World, where it's like, my girlfriend's in there, and he's like, a lot of guys' girlfriends are in there. You know, it's like, it reminds me of that, where it's like, no, all my friends are in that room. It's like, a lot of people's friends are in that room. Sorry, you're in that room. And it's like, I don't know. I heard Cody Rhodes in the past referred to as like the golden circle of talent, you know, and it's really hard to break through that. And I think that unless you've broken through that, Vince doesn't see you as that person, and that does frustrate me. It's got to frustrate others too. And but yes, we've gone on a long-winded conversation about Kevin Owens. No, I know, and it's something that I was very interested by watching this, because I liked the match, but the whole time I was thinking like, just from watching that match and then listening to the Moxley interview, it very much felt like he's in that same position. I don't know if he is angry backstage, but it appears that way. You know, there was an interview Kevin Owens did where he literally said he didn't stay for WrestleMania this year. He had his thing before and then left because he was so mad about not being on the card. Yeah. I mean, that's got to bother you.
Yeah, of course. And I understand that completely. You know, when you hit that wall, you're like, you know, how much more can I keep giving here at some point? And I've got to take care of me. And self-care is more important at times in these situations, in these moments, because Kevin has given a lot of years to WWE now. People, you talk about Dark Knight, how long? Kevin Owens has been in here for a while in WWE and still trying to make it work. So
he's got about 4 years left on his deal, too.
Yeah. And trust me, I know about knocking on the door, not being let in. All right, let's move on to the next thing. Heavy machinery. I went to Equinox. You know what is this? Oh, no. You're that way, Rocha. No. Heavy Machinery wants a title shot. Daniel Bryan came down with Rowan, and they had a nice little promo there talking about how the tag team division it's crap right now. They don't feel that anybody can challenge them, and they're looking for something, and they're making jokes at the tag team division's expense. Rowan was actually kind of funny with that joke.
He was great.
I was surprised by that.
I thought Rowan was perfect in his role here.
And something we've been talking about for quite some time, Heavy Machinery finally showed up to challenge them, and I thought this was funny, especially on the heels of me watching that ride-along episode preview with Mandy and Sonya talking about Otis and what he does and how they can't understand him when he's talking. So to see him now getting showcased, this is great, and I hope this is the next feud with these guys, because it sounds like a lot of fun.
Yeah, because they've had 2 interactions between them now. First was just the stare down. Yeah. Now we had this.
I can't understand what you're saying.
I also hope this is the direction they're going in. I know that it might seem to some as like a step down for Daniel Bryan, but because he was just champion, but he just had a title run, you know, and now he's using his status to help elevate others.
Yeah, Daniel's a lifer, man.
Yeah, and people love Otis. People love Otis. He could help get Heavy Machinery over in some way, get some good matches out of them. That'd be awesome. Yeah. I think that, you know, because they're mainly a comedy act, we haven't really seen a lot of wrestling from them. And to be honest, they are a fun act to watch in the ring. I'm not saying...
I enjoy them in NXT.
Yeah, and I'm not saying I've seen them put on like, you know, 5-star matches or anything like that, but I'm saying I think that they have potential. I think that both, you know, Tucker was in the system for a long time. Otis is brimming with charisma, and he's fun to watch in the ring, and I just feel like there's good times to be had with all 4 of these guys. Right. Daniel Bryan doing his whole like, you know, this division sucks, and doing his whole Captain Planet thing was fun. I think that's fun.
Oklahoma stuff, the Hurricanes.
He said they made that fracking joke, which I thought was great.
A fracking joke in WWE. Incredible.
I went over so many heads probably, but I guarantee most people thought that he was just trying, like he was doing like as some people say freaking, like he was trying to do it like that, like he was like a dorky dad and not realizing he was making like an actual joke.
Or a Battlestar Galactica reference. Frack you.
Oh man, I used to love that show.
Yeah, people did. People joined.
Did you not like that show?
It's not that I didn't like the show. I think I watched the first season, and somehow I just got lost and couldn't get into it.
Fair.
And my friend gave me the entire collection on Blu-ray, that steel box. And I've had it for over a year and have yet to pop it open and watch it. So I don't know.
I didn't watch. My brother was all about it.
People loved that.
Yeah, my brother was like, "You got to watch it."
Yeah.
And it was when everything was starting to go on Netflix, when they'd send the DVDs in the mail still, and he was like, "You got to watch this show. Like, it's insane." It was already done, and I started watching it. And so I had the luxury of watching it through.
Yeah,
I liked it a lot. But did you watch? When you watched the first season, did you watch the movie beforehand?
I watched the movie beforehand.
And you didn't like that, really?
No, I did. That's the thing.
So you liked the movie?
I liked the show. I just lost. I got distracted. And getting back into a dense show like that is a lot of effort.
It's fair.
Because now at this point, I'd have to rewatch the whole damn thing.
Oh yeah, you
from
super
scratch
would
to remember everything.
It's definitely a thinker show, like where there's a lot of. It's similar to like a Game of Thrones, where it's like there's a lot of like names and like
holy shit
things you need to remember, and it's like, but it's still fun. Although it loses itself near the end. but yeah, so the Daniel Bryan thing, I really I think he could help the tag division. I think that bringing him into that was very smart on their part. They needed another solid tag team.
Right.
And I'm hoping that, he beats, I think they'll beat, eventually they'll beat Heavy Machinery. And I feel like another few tag teams might come up from NXT after that. Like I really feel like Street Profits have a chance if Street Profits don't win the NXT tag titles at the upcoming Takeover. I think that they're gonna get called up and brought to SmackDown for a good tag team run.
When is that Takeover? It's coming up soon, right?
It's this weekend.
Is it really?
It is because I have a call coming up for it with Triple H.
I better tell him.
Not between the two of us, like a media call. Like a media call with Triple H.
Oh, so how does that work?
I don't just call Triple H. Yo,
All here.
Hey, Hunter, what's up, man? You excited about Takeover?
Tell me about Takeover, brother. You know something, brother. How does the call work? Do you guys get to ask questions? Or, wow, so it's a whole bunch of people calling in?
Yeah, but also like...
Does he know who you are when you call in?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, well, I mean, you
so
say...
So you do talk to Triple H.
You say... Hey Hunter, or you say, hey Paul, it's Ryan.
Right.
Thanks for doing this.
Right.
Like,
So you do get to ask him and talk to Paul.
But it's not like me just texting him and
well, of course not.
It's not like that, But yeah, I mean,
how's Stephanie and the kids?
I'm interested on this call to see how someone will bring up AEW.
Of course.
I don't know how it's gonna get brought up, but someone will.
And Moxley.
But the thing is that it's like you can only ask about certain things. So
they tell you that ahead of time.
Oh yeah. Well,
I'm sure.
It's not like they give you specific topics, but it's like. This call is about NXT Takeover, so you have to talk to Triple H about NXT Takeover. You can't just be like, "Yo, what'd you think about that New Japan match?" You can't just like throw stuff out. And like a lot of, there are definitely people who have asked inappropriate questions.
Oh, I'm sure.
And then I don't hear them on the calls in the future. So you gotta be smart about it. But if you guys if you got a good question, you want to ask Triple H about Takeover, feel free to leave it in the comments. I'll probably see it. Or tweet it to me at Ryan Satin, and I will keep that in mind tomorrow.
Well, if there's
I think it's tomorrow.
Is it? All right. Well, if there's someone I'd love to be in a press...
Shit.
Is that today? Uh-oh. We better get off of here then.
Pissed.
If there's someone I'd love to be in a press call with, it's Mandy Rose. That's for damn sure. She came out with her Hers magazine. She's on the cover. I think it's called Hers magazine.
Who's ever heard of that magazine?
I've never even heard. It's a muscle and fitness magazine. I guess one of their, like offshoots.
Tomorrow.
Oh, you calls tomorrow? Okay.
Yeah.
One of their offshoots there for muscle and fitness. But it was such a weird picture. Mandy's such a fantastic shape. She's always wrestling in the short shorts and whatever. You're like, put that picture on. I don't know why they put almost a full covered body. It makes no sense to me. And a side shot. She's got great abs.
All covered up on the cover?
Yeah. Why put them? It makes no sense. She works hard on her body. She should. If you watch her Instagram videos.
Like booty shorts and a top.
No, but they're almost down to the knee. That makes no sense. Show her full on with the abs and everything. She deserves it. But anyway, she's walking around with that. Sonya's with her. They're handing up. They mess with Ember Moon, who's sitting there, which is weird just to throw Ember on for some weird little promo there. Yeah, and then she comes out to the ring to take on Carmella. This was interesting because it was felt like a little bit of a throwback to those times when they were like, let the divas wrestle, because this was a 2-minute match.
2-minute match,
It was ridiculous. She kicked the magazine out of her hand. They had a
Which
back
was fun.
and forth. Right. It was
fun having Sonya on the outside showing off the magazine.
Right, cheering on. And then she interferes on the ring rope, which ends up costing Carmella a match. But if you watch that video, Carmella drags Mandy on top of her to get herself pinned. And I was like, ooh. So there was a little bit of maybe there was a mix up there, or maybe Carmella was supposed to help in that situation, but it was more obvious than it needed to be. So she took the pin, but for a former 2-time champ, it's kind of weird to take the pin that fast.
Yeah, I'll be honest, I tried so hard to focus on this match.
Yeah.
I literally I was watching and my phone took over and I was looking at my phone and I was like, I didn't watch any of that. Yeah. When the pin came, I rewound and then like a minute in I was like, started looking at my phone again, and then I was like, they're not going to get my attention with this match. I'm sorry. Yeah. It's not a knock on either of them, but a 2-minute match that's focused around a magazine nobody's heard of, that nobody cares about. I'll be honest, being in a magazine isn't that cool anymore in 2019.
There's so many of them.
Also, I was gonna say there's less of them. I was gonna say,
oh, fair.
Well, I guess there's so many of them, but nobody's reading them. Like that's the thing I really
saying.
mean is like nobody's really reading any magazines anymore. You know,
it's all digital stuff.
Yeah, it's all digital. So like, unless you're on their digital site, who cares? Right. But I know they got to promote
for
the
her
things
brand.
there.
It works.
But there's a lot of their wrestlers that are doing magazines and things that they're not promoting out there. So I don't know. Yeah. This segment I had trouble with.
Yeah, I liked the promo more than the match.
Yeah.
The promo was really good. Fire and Desire. I thought it was shot really well. Really gets them over as a tag team. But now, let's get that tag team title shot rolling. Like, it's time. And
honestly,
heel versus heel is fine, too.
I was big on the Iconics winning, but I wouldn't have a problem with Fire and Desire getting it and it leading to a breakup angle between the two of them.
Because down the road,
Yeah, because Sonya, honestly, was my favorite part of this whole match. Yeah. And she wasn't in the match, so which is, I guess that's a bad thing. But, like, and this is not a knock on the other two, but in the short amount of time they had, I feel like Sonya maximized her screen time the best. You know, that Sonya was funny on the outside, doing the whole magazine thing. And Carmella was funny kicking the magazine out of Mandy's hand and all that kind of stuff. But I don't know, for some reason I felt like Sonya owned this, was more captivating than everyone else in this segment.
Couldn't agree with you more. I think she is the more natural performer of the two. I think Mandy is the one that people want to see because she's beautiful, she's gorgeous, she's sexy, she's voluptuous. It works.
We get it.
It works. I'm not trying to be telling the truth. It works. And with Sonya, she's a great character. She's also in fantastic shape, good wrestler, MMA background, but she makes the most out of her time. And that's a great point because she doesn't get to get showcased as much as Mandy.
Yep.
For those reasons.
Yep.
And so you get to see what she can do with it, and she does a good time. And they're a great combo. And you can tell their friendship is really genuine and watch their show. So it's good. We'll see how this goes.
You love their
down
donut show.
Well, the ride along. I'm excited to watch that ride along. I can't wait. I just like their chemistry. I like good characters. Yeah, she's beautiful to look at, but if she was boring, I wouldn't care.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's a dime a dozen. But she has a good personality, interesting personality, and she has a good connection with her mom that comes through on the Instagram. That's nice. That's really sweet.
That is nice.
I know you're trying to denigrate how I feel about it. I'm not going to let you do it. I'm not going to let you do it.
I like that you're such a big Mandy stan.
She's not. I don't objectify her. I just state the truth of what she's like. Anyway, we'll see what happens as this comes down. But also the other promo we should talk about before we get too wrapped up is this 24/7 thing is now has been peppered through the night as well. Carmella running off with R-Truth earlier. We're going to see that come into play later on down the road. But those promos have been there as well. What's his face? Drake is trying to find him.
Drake's continuing his online mission to find R-Truth. Yeah.
So stupid. Anyway, all right. So then we have the highlight of the night for Ryan Satin. It's the Shane McMahon Appreciation Night. Boy, this was a phenomenal waste of minutes. I don't know what's happening. That promo was like, it made me almost like mad because I was such a big, you say Stan, I'm such a big Shane McMahon stan from the beginning.
Yeah, me too.
Loved him. And I remember my friend Matt Burke back in the 90s, he said to me after the first Shane McMahon match, he goes, that guy's the future of wrestling. And I was like, you're crazy. He's the owner's son. But he has persevered. But now it's almost like, it's like it's wasted now because
it does feel that way.
You can't appreciate him because it isn't a well-done rollout to this heel turn. And so you're just going along with this because you have to.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, when I was watching this segment, I was thinking to myself, I tweeted it. I said, Paige as GM greater than Shane as the authority because she was great.
She was great.
They literally took their greatest authority figure out of the role to replace her with their worst authority figure. I mean, Shane was fun as a face, but
Shane's always great as a face.
But Shane's not Vince. I'm sorry, and I know that's how they're trying to angle it right now, but he's not Vince McMahon.
Neither of them are.
No.
Stephanie nor Shane.
But Stephanie is much more easily hateable.
Oh, sure.
Like there's something about her, and the fact that she's always been there wasn't like this lull of her going away. She has that evil voice that she can do. She's got the evil vibes more, even though she's a nice person.
Yeah, that's what I hear. If she could put more nuance to the evilness, she'd be just as good as Vince. That's the only thing that's missing for me with Steph is that nuance, where Shane has the nuance, but people don't gravitate to the heeldom of him.
And I don't know what it is, but he's just slower with his delivery, and it always looks like he's memorizing a script. Mm-hmm. You know, it doesn't look natural. And I think Shane's a great performer, but I think it's similar where he's stuck in the reading a script mode. You know, that he's reading his stuff that isn't his words sometimes.
There's also a conversation to be had, Ryan, that his interests weren't 100% wrestling.
No.
He's done a lot of things outside of wrestling, where Stephanie has always been focused on wrestling. And yes, she had her fitness stuff, but wrestling has been her focus, and she deserves credit for that. Shane, I think when he comes back to it, it always feels like Shane's visiting. It never feels like Shane is really a
I'm shocked he's been around this long.
Yeah, that's true. This is the longest probably he's been around in a while.
Oh, yeah. It 100% is.
Yeah.
But this segment, it's like the Miz thing just didn't work.
Right.
I'm sorry. And it seems like it's maybe not even over. But the Miz thing just didn't work. And
it's not over.
Now we're into this Roman Reigns thing, and it's like, put him again. If they had spent the amount of time they've spent on Shane McMahon in an actual wrestler with lots of talent,
with Kevin Owens.
That's what I was just gonna say.
That's
like
a great
someone like
point.
Kevin Owens.
Great
the
point.
amount of time they have spent to try and get you to hate Shane McMahon could have been spent on someone who can actually back it up in the ring, who you actually want to see Roman Reigns go up against.
Yeah.
And my problem is that it's just like we don't care about another Shane McMahon match. Like, where is this going? It's not a compelling storyline, Shane versus Roman Reigns. It hasn't been this whole time. I'm really hoping this isn't the direction for the next few months on SmackDown, because it's like even if they'd put this effort into Elias, which they started to, but instead it's all Shane. It's Shane being driven down our throats, and it's like, why?
Yeah.
Nobody is clamoring for more Shane. Nobody's asking for more Shane. And this Shane McMahon Appreciation Night thing was like, I don't know, it was pretty dumb, I thought.
Yeah, I thought so too. You get the beats that they're trying to hit here because they're trying to make him a heel. He's trying to play these humble, and you see all these things, and you see all these people come out and do what they're doing to kiss his butt, but you're just like, yeah, this is kind of dumb. We've seen this many times.
It's so copy and paste.
Yeah.
It's so copy and paste.
There's nothing original about it.
No, it's like, and I get it, like, cool, it's vintage wrestling, but it's not like compelling. It's not compelling at all.
Right.
And so
it's so uncompelling that you had to throw the 24/7 title into the situation.
Yes.
Where Drake comes out chasing R-Truth. R-Truth pins Drake after one finishing move and is done, and then they beat up R-Truth, Elias, and Drew McIntyre, and then Elias pins R-Truth, but it's almost worse that you gave Elias the 24/7 title.
His first title in WWE was this throwaway title.
Yeah, man.
Like, it was like, what?
The optics of it are terrible.
And it was just like I don't know, it was just like R-Truth was kind of fun with that title.
He was.
He got it back.
He does, which was telegraphed as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
But it was just like, what is happening right now? Like, just because you throw a bunch of random things at me doesn't mean it's compelling. Doesn't mean it's like something I'm enjoying watching. And I do think that SmackDown was more entertaining than Raw this week.
Sure.
I just think that I was really wanting them to like grab me this week. And they really didn't. I think that, Elias' first title in WWE being him having it for 30 minutes maybe. Is like, what? Like, come on, man. You've had this guy at like the forefront of your shows for like 2 years now, a year and a half.
And that dude is ripped.
And that's his first title?
Yeah.
Is the shitty 24/7 title that's a joke?
Yeah.
I don't know. I just thought it was dumb.
I agree. It's dumb.
Yeah, and then like I said earlier, with Shane changing the rules, you're like, this title's only been around 2 weeks.
Yeah.
What? You're already changing. I thought it was gonna be fun if people were trying to pin Elias during the match while he's trying to wrestle. I don't know. That's me.
Yeah, well, and it gets set up that Roman Reigns, because he comes down and has a whole thing and beats everybody up, and it comes down. Oh no, they set up that it's going to be Roman Reigns versus R-Truth in a tag team match. With R-Truth in a tag team match against Elias and McIntyre later on in the night. But then let's move on to 2 more vignettes. Let's talk about the Alistair Black vignette.
Yes.
Did you like this vignette? Because it seems to preclude. This is a heel situation.
Yeah, a little bit, but
the heretics of men.
I saw a lot of people saying they didn't like this.
Oh.
And I really liked it.
Okay.
To me, this was something that was very different. Like, you don't normally see someone saying, like, I'm waiting.
Yeah.
Usually it's like they do these vignettes for a few weeks and then they come out and then someone interrupts.
Right.
Or they do these vignettes for a few weeks, someone's in the ring, and then they come out and they make their debut and then they start to feud with them. It's like very copy and paste still. So I kind of like that he was like, explain that the reason he's doing these vignettes and hasn't been wrestling for the past few weeks, because he hasn't. He was like wrestling a ton on Raw and SmackDown and then nothing. I kind of like that it was like an explanation for that, and it was like, I'm waiting for someone to call me out.
Yeah.
To be fair, it almost felt like a Sting vibe from WCW, where it was like, you knew, he was lingering.
Right.
I feel like Alistair Black is kind of like he's lingering a little bit. He's like just chilling, waiting for someone to challenge him. I feel like that's a cool vibe.
I hear your point. I think with people, and I think I'm a little bit, I'm thinking in the middle. I like the opening and what he had to say in the presentation. I think at the end, though, begging someone to pick a fight with him, I thought was a little like, you don't need to do that. People let someone pick a fight with you. Don't ask for someone to pick a fight with you, because then you're saying, I'm not going to get off this chair unless someone makes me. And it's like, it feels a little bit like that. And I think that takes away from the overall vibe Alistair Black was, who's a pretty badass wrestler. So you're like, okay, who's going to step up, though? Who's out there on the SmackDown roster that's going to goad him into a match? Because everyone seems pretty occupied with the current a wrestler. So I will see how this plays out, but it feels to me like a little bit of a heel because of him talking about man and the heresy of man and all this kind of jazz. So he may be going this way, and the fact that he's waiting for people to call him out, that's a heel move as well. That's not a face move.
My guess is Lars.
Yeah?
My guess is Lars destroys Lucha House Party, and then...
Way to go on a limb there, Ryan.
Well, because they're wrestling at that...
Yes! Why?
Yeah, people were real mad about that one, too.
It's stupid. He already destroyed Lucha House already 35 fucking times.
Now it's a match.
Oh, God. Jesus Christ. Throw our truth in there while you're at it.
But I feel like he beats Lucha House Party, talks about how there's been no competition. He's beaten. There's been no. That Lars comes out and says, like, you know, he's been looking for an actual challenge and he wants Alistair Black or something like that.
I'm down with that.
I don't know. That's just my guess. It's not like inside info. It's just my guess.
I love their NXT match. So at the pay-per-view.
Me too.
So, yeah, so it'd be good to see them do it up again. And
I also liked in this Alistair Black promo, they changed the room finally a little bit. It wasn't just dark black. They had like that kind of like paint thing on the back of it, and it looked alternative and edgy, and I liked it. Like, it wasn't obviously that crazy of a thing, but I liked it. Looked like they tried. Like, it was like a little bit different than just like him sitting in a dark room. You're like, why is he just sitting in this black room in the dark? Turn a light on, man.
The other vignette I want to hit on is the Finn Balor, Andrade or Andrade vignette that was on. I love Andrade as a wrestler. It's coming along. It's coming along. It's not 100% there, but it's coming along.
I think he's taking classes.
Yes. And I think he needs to connect these sentences a little bit better, and he'll be fine. But I don't like moving Zelina out of the spokesperson situation. So I kind of need to be a mix. It needs to be a mix.
I agree.
Right?
It needs to be like her doing the heavy lifting.
Yes.
And him coming in for like the final line of like just one good line he can practice all day of just like say this one sentence very clearly, you know?
Because saying, oh, you took a ladder shot, you did not just take a ladder shot, you took a ladder shot from me. I was just like, and I can do that, I'm Latino, don't come at me. I was like, this is not 100% what you want to say. It isn't badass. And if you said in Spanish, it would be badass, I know.
Agreed.
But in English, it loses something in the forcefulness in the translation. And I think that was a mistake there a little bit. But I appreciate that Andrade is trying, and I think that's part of, he may be pushing, wanting to try.
I think he is.
So I get that, but dude, understand it's a combo of you two that works. Do not try to take control of the speaking and the wrestling. I think that's a mistake overall. All around.
I completely agree with you. I think that it's not like he's bad, but she's so good.
She's so good.
That it would be like having Brock Lesnar cutting promos all the time while Paul Heyman just stands there. And you're like, that's not good.
And before people get stupid and start saying you're comparing Zelina to Paul, no, we're saying in this situation, it's comparable in this situation.
I'm obviously not saying Zelina's as good as Paul Heyman, but I'm saying that in relation to the character of Andrade, I think she's very key to his success. You know, before...
Since NXT.
Well, before she came along in NXT, he was trying to cut promos himself, and it was failing miserably. So when he had the like top hat and the suspenders and stuff, and so she has been crucial to his success.
1,000% agreed. And she's the one that came up with that whole move where they lay on the ring. Lay on the ropes.
No.
Yes.
No.
She says she came up with it.
Well, no, he counters
it.
No, he's been doing the Tranquilo thing forever.
Well, she says the double Tranquilo is what she came up with.
Fair.
Okay, I see what you're saying.
He's been doing that since...
I see what you're saying. Right.
That's like the Los Ingobernables thing. Tranquilo. She just maybe said, hey, let's do it at the same time.
Yeah, there we go. That's what she said. All right, let's do. Wait, one more vignette, and that's the tea vignette. Little tea between Lacey and Charlotte there, kind of bringing back the old tea time with Becky and Charlotte. Did you like this?
Not really.
Yeah, I didn't like it either. I thought it was clumsy.
It's not that I didn't like it. I just didn't think it was necessary. It was one of those things where I was like, what was the point of this? Especially with what happened right after.
Yeah. We get them, like, since they're going to be together, the match is Bayley's going to take on Lacey Evans, a wild card. What's wild? They come out. They have a good match, I thought.
Yeah, not bad.
Lacey looked good.
Yeah.
Lacey's really, like, coming along, commanding the ring at this level, and it's fun to watch. I thought Bayley fought a great match. I wish they'd get rid of those floating things. I just kill it. We don't need it anymore.
I think they've run their course too.
Yeah.
I mean, it's unique. So I do like the unique factor of it, but I do think that, like,
it's also what people used against her, though.
Agreed. And I think that she does need that little bit tougher of an edge now that she's starting to get. I think that this match was good. I like this match.
Yep.
The matches on the show were all good. They did what they needed to do. I just wish they weren't rushing, because I feel like Bayley versus Lacey could have been a pay-per-view match.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Which it will be down the road.
Which it will be.
Probably.
I think, based on the way it ended when Bayley wins, and then, Charlotte interfered
because Bayley hits her,
causing Lacey to lose.
Right.
And then, Bayley wins, and then Lacey attacked Charlotte after the match.
So let's talk about this.
I'm guessing a three-way is on the way.
Because two interesting things happened here. Yes, well, of course. They got to throw Charlotte in the mix, of course. So you have Charlotte Lacey hit Charlotte out of anger, messing up her title shot. But also, you give Lacey the pin over Bayley while the referee is occupied. That's usually reserved for a face.
Yeah.
Gets that pin over a heel, but doesn't get a legitimate pin because the referee was occupied.
Okay.
It's rare when it goes that the heel gets the pin over the face, and the face gets saved by the ref being preoccupied.
Okay.
Because it gives legitimacy to the heel that they.
I don't think they're turning Lacey face anytime soon.
No, that's what I'm saying. But I wonder about that situation, what it meant. They're trying to get her over more with the fans, that she could have won here and didn't.
I think it's just it's to get to the three-way. It's like that she was gonna win, but Charlotte messed it up. Charlotte goes, well, I haven't got a rematch still after losing or something like that, and then they three-way.
Okay.
That's my guess.
You think, but it'll be what? SummerSlam down the road? Or you think it won't be Superstar
What's
Showdown,
next?
obviously.
No, not Superstar Showdown. Yeah. Stomping Ground?
Yeah,
Isn't that the next one, right? I saw those things being shown, right? Is that what it's called? Stomping Ground?
Stomping Grounds.
Groundbreaking, Breaking Ground.
Stomping Grounds. It's his Stomping Grounds. That's a terrible name for a pay-per-view, but whatever. But yeah, overall, I thought the segment was fantastic. Certainly pushed Bayley back. I love what's happening with Bayley. It's kind of low-key Becky. It's kind of low-key Becky reboot. You have a reboot with Bayley. I like she's more edgy. We'll see where it goes from here, but I hope they don't mess this up by taking the belt off her quickly. Let her establish it for a bit, and then we'll move on from there.
Don't jinx her.
If you put it on Charlotte again, everyone will get bored. You got to let her fight for it for a little bit, like you're doing with R-Truth. It works. Let us care about the faces for a little bit. It's not a negative. That's how we used to do it in the old days.
I feel like I could see Lacey being the next one. That Lacey beating her for it, and that.
But isn't she preoccupied with the Becky Lynch? Isn't that more of the feud right now?
Who knows? There's so many wild card things and feuds going on. It's hard to keep track.
All right, one last match we got to get to. Roman Reigns and R-Truth taking on Drew McIntyre and Elias. This was a good match.
Yeah.
Nice back and forth. Good to see R-Truth get some. R-Truth, man, mad love to you, brother. I was watching some old WCW shit from the 90s, and there you are, and here you are still doing it in 2019. Like, mad love to you to hang with these young guys and wrestle as well as you still do. Ageless wonder really is a perfect term to describe you. And everything that went down, and Reigns gets the win with the Superman punch, I think, or the spear rather, gets the victory. Then spears Elias again for R-Truth to pin him and get that 24/7 title back. So there we go at the end of the night.
It was funny. My girlfriend, she loves two people. Well, she loves a lot of people, but there's two of her favorite wrestlers are R-Truth and Alicia Fox.
Oh, respect. I like your girlfriend a lot. I like Alicia too.
And when she was cooking, I said, "That's your boy R-Truth in the main event." She said, "In the main event?" And I said, "Yeah." And she said, "Whoa, I like that, but whoa," And so, which was how I felt when I saw he was going to be in the main event. I'm like, wow, that quickly they've just from this 24/7 title popped R-Truth up to a main event match.
Yeah, man.
And it works when he's there. It always does. Whenever they let him, whenever they bring him up for a little bit, it always works. He's a great talent. Yeah, it wasn't a bad match or anything like that. It was what it was. It's just my problem is that like I'm not super into the feud itself of like Roman Reigns and Shane, so it makes me less interested in the match itself.
Yep, I think that's the danger here, Ryan, is that you, by attaching Elias and McIntyre to Shane in this particular iteration of Shane, you're almost like losing the luster of both of these guys.
Absolutely,
at the same time.
because it's like those two guys don't need Shane.
Yeah,
Shane needs
really
those guys, and we don't need Shane. So in like this weird turnabout, it makes it a lot less interesting to watch. You know, if that was a feud of just McIntyre and Elias against Roman, I'd probably enjoy it way more.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I just don't understand what Shane needs to be there for in every single part of it.
Do they think that neither one of them can carry the stick, and that's why they have Shane?
I honestly don't. Of course, I mean, like, of course they can.
Yeah.
Like, both are great on the mic, you know. So I don't see how that could be a possibility. I just think that they think that Shane is an effective heel, similar to how they saw Baron Corbin as an effective heel, even though most of the wrestling world was like, we don't need that to be the focus of the entire Raw. It's nothing against Baron Corbin, but it doesn't need to be the entire focus of Raw. And it's it's nothing against Shane McMahon, the performer, but we don't need all week's worth of programming to revolve around Shane.
That's a good point. Both Raw and SmackDown.
Put a credible performer in there.
That's a great point.
That could have been a Dean Ambrose. If you had spent all that time on making Dean Ambrose a tough badass, he wouldn't have left. You know what I mean? Like that's who should be there. The guys who can.
Yeah.
Not someone he needs 5 wrestlers behind him to look credible at the front.
Right.
I know Vince McMahon did that in the past, and it was very successful for the company, but it's clearly moved past that.
But Vince also rarely wrestled.
He wrestled a lot during the Attitude Era.
Maybe. I think it was more about like running the corporation, right? And then he'd get into matches, but it was never like
he was never a weekly performer. He was never a weekly wrestler like they're doing with Shane.
Like they're doing with Shane. That's what I mean, I guess. Yeah, that's what I feel like it was for the pay-per-views. Yes, Vince wrestled in the big matches on.
It was an attraction, and Shane has his luster of being an attraction has been lost.
It's gone. Absolutely.
Shane is no longer an attraction. Shane is a regular wrestler and should be held to the same standards as everyone else, even though his last name is McMahon.
Right. Even if he drops a 100-foot elbow drop, it won't carry the same weight it did.
No, he doesn't have the same charisma he used to have. And it's no knock on Shane. I love the guy. He's one of my favorites of all time.
Absolutely.
It's just right now, and I don't think he should be like taken off TV or anything like that.
Right.
I just don't think that the 5 hours of programming on television every week should be revolved around Shane McMahon.
Sometimes less is more. And with Shane, less has always been more.
It
really has. He's great, and because he has such an impact when he does get the chance to be in the center stage and on the highlight. But
I did enjoy SmackDown much more than I did Raw this week.
Absolutely.
There were lots of good moments in the show.
It's very clear. You've said that a few times. Let's make it clear so no one gets it confused. Don't come at Ryan with these lies. He didn't enjoy SmackDown. He enjoyed SmackDown. We both did. All right, well, thanks everybody for watching this SmackDown Live recap on the Pro Wrestling Sheet. Ryan, what do you want to tell them about how to follow and read and listen to everything we do?
ProWrestlingSheet.com. That's the website where you can find all the top stories throughout the week in the world of professional wrestling. At Wrestling Sheet on social media, YouTube.com/C/Wrestling Sheet. That's where you can find all the videos that we do. You got the Raw and SmackDown recap with myself and Rocha. You got Wrestling Sheet Radio on Thursdays where I talk about all the top stories in the world of professional wrestling. And yesterday we put up a Double or Nothing review. Myself and Jen Sturger, Jennifer Decker, did a full rundown of the show. We were both there, but I went back and watched some of it so I could have some insight on that side of things as well. But I think that, you know, a lot of time in the world of wrestling, there's not like fully women reviewing. There's not as many prominent women reviewing things. That I just want to tell you this much. Jen is a diehard wrestling fan.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't even realize how diehard of a wrestling fan she was until we started talking about Double or Nothing, and she brought up WWE-related things. And so I think that, you know, I was blown away by it, and I think you guys will too. She's not just working with AEW because, you know, because of her following or anything like that. Like she's actually a diehard wrestling fan. So go check that out. It's a really fun hour conversation between myself and Jen Sturger. If you want to listen to it, you can check out the podcast version. Same with these shows that we do, and same with Wrestling Sheet Radio. Just search Wrestling Sheet Radio on all the biggest podcast platforms.
Yeah. I love Jen to pieces. I love having Jen on Sports Time all the time. She knows a lot about sports as well, you know, so she's great. When you get a chance to sit down and talk with her, very relaxed, a knowledgeable woman, rarely caught out not knowing about something. And that tells you that she studies what she knows and legitimately likes to watch wrestling and sports and talks about it knowledgeably. All right, thanks everybody for watching this episode of SmackDown Live Recap. Follow him at the Ryan Satin. Follow me at the Rocha Says. Let us know what you thought about the show as well, and we'll talk to you next week with another Raw and SmackDown Live recap on the Pro Wrestling Sheet. Till then, have a great week and enjoy Takeover.
ProWrestlingSheet.com